I'd like to call to order the regular meeting agenda on Monday, August 28, 2018. It's now 6 o'clock. Would you please join Councilmember Hampton in the Pledge of Allegiance and stay standing for the invocation?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Guys, thank you for the day, Lord. I just thank you for your many blessings on our community and our country and the freedoms that we enjoy here in Goodyear in the country, Lord. I just pray for our first responders, God, as they are out protecting us, Lord, and taking care of the community. I just thank you for the city staff, Lord, and their work and what they're doing, God. I just pray for wisdom for us making decisions here on the council and throughout the community. I just want to also pray, Lord, for the people who have been affected by Hurricane Harvey, Lord, and all the many people that are suffering, God, right now. I just pray for them and also pray for all the people from across the country that are going out and helping with that situation, Lord. I just thank you for once again tonight and the many blessings that you've given us, and help us look to you in all we do. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Councilman Hampton, thanks so much, and thank you for praying for all those people that are underwater practically throughout that state. So thank you so much. All right, Councilman Stipp will not be here this evening. He is out of town on business. So I need a motion, a second, to excuse Councilman Stipp. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, I heard a motion by Councilman Loretano and a second by Councilman Hampton. A roll call vote, please.
Vice Mayor Campbell?
Aye.
Councilmember Osborne?
Aye.
Councilmember Pizzillo?
Aye.
Councilmember Loretano?
Aye.
Councilmember Hampton?
Aye.
Mayor Lord?
Aye.
The motion passes.
Thank you. We have no communication, so now is the time for citizens who would like to address the City Council on a non-agenda item within the jurisdiction of the Goodyear City Council. And I have two cards, and so I will call you. Before I call you, just to give you some comments, the council will listen to your comments. They may take any one of the following responses. They can, number one, respond to criticism. Number two, request that staff investigate and report on the matter. And number three, request the matter be scheduled at a future agenda. Now, as you come up, and it's not easy, everybody that's coming tonight, it's not easy going to that microphone, and I understand that. So we are going to be very sympathetic to you as long as you follow what I'm about to say. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. The yellow light and the buzzer will let you know you have 30 seconds left to speak. Before you begin to speak, identify yourself clearly by saying your name and your address for our record. So I'm going to start out with the non-agenda, and so we're looking at Joel Mink. And we have Michelle Sally, is it all? Scally also? Are there two of you there?
Oh, no, my printing must be bad. It's Michael Scally.
Oh, I wouldn't say that to you, though. Go ahead. You have the floor.
Hi, my name is Michael Scally. I'm speaking on behalf of my grandson. They live at 14431 West Edgemont Avenue. Jaden is 15 years old. He's riding his bike to the gym. A week ago Thursday, he was hit by a truck doing roughly 40 miles an hour in a crosswalk at 144th and Thomas Avenue. He was life-flighted to the hospital, and he's still in an induced coma at this stage. First of all, I'd like to ask you to review the conditions that are there. There's a park on one side. There's a bend in the road that makes it a blind spot. There are 2 crosswalks. There are 3 lanes of traffic, two bike lanes. Most every car speeds. I'm from out of town, and I can't believe how fast the traffic moves on that road. If I go 30 miles an hour on that road, which is the speed limit, I get tailgated and passed on that road. The pedestrian crossing signs are blocked by the trees. one of them is. The bushes are high enough along the side of that road to hide a small child if he was there, or she. According to neighbors, there have been numerous complaints that have been sent to people on this condition. After the accident, I went out the following morning to walk my son's dogs, and the police were out patrolling the area, pulling over numerous people. As a matter of fact, while Sergeant Seabright was pulling a person over, I happened to be there and yelled at him. He almost got hit by a car as he was getting out of his car to issue a ticket, a citation to a traveler. I guess I'd like to ask the City Council and the City of Goodyear, why haven't you taken any action on this? Do we need another tragedy? I implore you to take action before another one takes place. Please don't let another family go through what our family is experiencing. Put yourself in our shoes. And I ask you to put police out there, let them know you're serious, I mean serious about public safety here in Goodyear. And I'm sure that the police department and you know how to slow traffic down, speed bumps, radar, stop signs, whatever it takes. But please, please don't let another accident happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming up. I know that was very difficult, and we all have prayers for you and the situation.
I truly appreciate your prayers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so City Manager, you've heard these, and so you will, I think I wrote them down, but I'm assuming you have all of the asks that he had in his talk.
Yes, Mayor and members of council. And for the public, we have commissioned a traffic study to get information for the areas around 144th Avenue, Thomas, 144th Avenue, and Palm Valley Boulevard, and in Cano and 145th Avenue. And also reaching out to the HOA as well. But this will be evaluated by our police department and engineering. So it's we're working on it. But thank you.
All right, the next one is, I believe, Guy Hackey. If I've murdered your name, I apologize ahead of time. Well, it doesn't say that. So this is a non-agenda item.
Non-agenda item.
All right, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. This is again about that.
Start with your name and your address.
My name is Guy Hache, 14428 West Edgemont Avenue. I am across the street neighbor from the boy that got hit on 144th. And the study is great. I don't know what the timeout to get something done is, but it wouldn't hurt to put up perhaps some temporary stop signs along that corridor. It's like a Talladega turn. It goes on forever, and constantly hearing cars and motorcycles just buzzing through there. Today, I did 4 drives from Indian School, 144th, from Canada Boulevard. I did that 4 times, then back to Indian School at 30 miles an hour. And every car behind me was right on my tail. Nobody passed me, but they just want to go. If you could possibly maybe put up some temporary stop signs so you could study what's going on 144th, that would be appreciated.
Thank you. Well, I can assure you that we will be getting back to both of the speakers with information and answer any of the questions they didn't ask tonight. All right? Thank you very much. So now is the time. We're going to move to the agenda items. So those people that are going to be speaking on the agenda items, I do that now, right? Did I push it? Oh, I pushed it too soon. All right, we'll go. That's on the count. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. It's actually on the agenda, so I have to wait till then. All right, so let's go on to the consent agenda. Will the city clerk please read the consent agenda's items 6.1 to 6.1 by title only?
6.1, approve the budget transfers for fiscal year 18.
Thank you. Does anyone from the public wish to remove this item from the consent agenda? Does anyone on the council wish to remove this item from the consent agenda? All right, then could I please have a motion?
So moved. Second.
I heard a motion from Vice Mayor Campbell and a second by Councilman Osborne. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Osborne?
Aye.
Councilmember Pizzillo?
Aye.
Councilmember Loretano?
Aye.
Councilmember Hampton?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Campbell?
Aye.
Mayor Lord?
Aye.
The vote
All right,
carries.
so now we're going to the business item, and the first one is a business is a public hearing to consider the rezone of a portion of the Palm Valley Phase 2 final planned area development to the Vistas at Palm Valley final PAD. Public hearing is open. Joe Schmidt, Long Range Planner, will present.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As you've noted, this item is up for public hearing at this point, and there will be two subsequent items related to it, a resolution and an ordinance once the public hearing has been concluded. This is a rezoning request for 53.6 acres at the southwest corner of Litchfield Road and Palm Valley Boulevard. The property is comprised of two parcels. Parcel A, which is the northerly portion of the property, is currently occupied by 4 holes of the Palm Valley Golf Club. And parcel B is the former Palm Valley Golf driving range, which has been closed for some time. The existing zoning of the property is Palm Valley Phase 2 final PAD, and parcel A is zone golf course and open space under that plan, and parcel B is zoned mixed-use commercial, which is the same as the C2 general commercial district in the zoning ordinance. To the north, you have additional holes of the golf course and single-family residential development in the cottages. To the east, you have, again, additional golf course holes and some residential and commercial uses on the east side. On the south, there's office uses and a Montessori school. And to the west is the single-family homes in Camelot and additional holes of the golf course in the Palm Valley Community Center. The proposed amendment for the Vistas at Palm Valley final PAD would rezone the northerly parcel to urban residential low density for the majority of the property, with a small area reserved out for urban residential medium density, which would be the model homes for parcel B. And then there is an open space buffer along the southeastern boundary of parcel A. Parcel B would be rezoned from MUC to urban residential medium density, and it also has a 30-foot open space buffer along the east and south sides of the parcel. In terms of the proposed modified development standards, the urban residential low density in parcel A would have 86 single-family detached homes on lots that are at least 60 feet by 120 feet deep, and certain amended development standards. The front setback, for instance, would be measured from the back of a sidewalk versus the front lot line as it is typically. The front setback would also allow for 10 feet of setback for living forward and also for side turn garages. The rear setback would be reduced from 20 feet to 15 feet, and the maximum lot coverage would be increased to 50% from 48%. I'll defer on the urban residential medium density until I get to parcel B, and then the open space buffer would be just that, a 30-foot wide landscape buffer along the southeastern boundary. The conceptual development plan for the project looks as what's displayed on the screen. 4 holes of the Lakes Golf Course, the putting green, the lake and restroom would be removed, and the remaining 14 holes of the golf course would be reconfigured as a 9-hole championship course. The existing cart path that goes through the site would be relocated and continue through the proposed development. There would be a total of 86 single-family home lots, and they would be developed with 2 single-story floor plans and 2 two-story floor plans with 3 elevations each. There's 1 duplex and 1 triplex structure planned in the model home complex right there at the main entrance off of Palm Valley Boulevard. And there's a 1/4 acre tot lot planned near the entrance of the parcel in Palm Valley Boulevard entrance. The Parcel B modified development standards would allow 106 attached single-family duplex triplex units on 36 by 106 foot wide lots, that's minimum, with certain amended development standards, a similar treatment of the front setback for the garage and also for the home besides the side turn garage. Minimum lot width of 36 feet instead of 40. Minimum lot area of 3,800 square feet instead of 4,000, and a 65% maximum lot coverage instead of 50%. And likewise, the open space buffer along the eastern and southeastern boundary of the site would be 30 feet wide. The total number of units in the project would be 197. The existing golf driving range improvements, that is the poles and the netting, would be removed, except for the 3 poles at the southern part of the site where the poles are being used for wireless communication facilities. The duplexes will be single-story floor plans with 2 elevations, and the triplexes will have a single-story on each end and a 2-story unit in the middle with 2 elevations. There's a 1/2 acre tot lot play area located within the project near the other entrance to that goes out to Litchfield Road. And then there's 10-foot wide access way paths that are proposed along the back of where the triplex units would be located to provide for emergency access to the rear of the middle triplex unit. When the project originally went before the Planning and Zoning Commission, there were several concerns that were cited, and the concept plan was revised to remove Lot 69, which was at the southwest corner of Palm Valley Boulevard and Litchfield Road, right in this area. And that reduced the total number of lots from 198 to 197. A gated pedestrian access point was added from the cul-de-sac between lots 68 and 70 out to Palm Valley Boulevard to provide connectivity to that roadway. And also access points were provided between lots 56 and 7 and 104 and 105 so that pedestrians could reach the cart path leading to Litchfield Road. More trees and plant material were added to the conceptual landscape plan, and a detail was also provided showing how access would be provided to the middle unit of the triplex structure. Additional lots were restricted to single-story. Those are all marked with a blue star. If you squint real hard, you can see those on that slide. And those will, as I said, will be limited to single-story primarily along Litchfield Road and Palm Valley Boulevard, and then the row of lots along the western boundary adjacent to the Camelot development, and then also on the eastern side of the development near the Montessori School. Infrastructure to serve the site will be provided by Liberty Utilities for water and sewer. The fire department primary response would be from Station 183 at Litchfield and Avalon, which has a response time between 2 to 2.96 minutes. Secondary response would be from station number 185 at Pebble Creek Parkway at Clubhouse, which would range from 6.5 to 7.25 minutes. The project is on the edge of the territory within the vicinity of the military airport for Luke Air Force Base and within the traffic pattern airspace for Phoenix Goodyear Airport. However, we do not believe that the project will be impacted by that nor impact either of the airports or the military facility. Standard disclosure requirements are being stipulated. The access will be by to this gated community with private streets from Palm Valley Boulevard. I apologize, this slide is turned sideways, so north is to the right-hand side. And then the second access, the gate would be located on the east edge of parcel B, leading through a private access way that goes out to Litchfield Road. Traffic improvements that are likely to be needed at the intersection of the private driveway and Litchfield include a traffic signal, restriping of the private driveway, and installation of a right turn decel lane for southbound traffic on Litchfield Road. The project has a little over 14 acres of open space, which represents about 26% of the site. And as I pointed out earlier, there's 2 tot lots proposed, one in each parcel. And then pedestrian access is provided through the site and out to Litchfield Road and Palm Valley Boulevard. There's been extensive public participation on this item. The applicant hosted an informal meeting back in October of 2016, and then the required formal neighborhood meeting was held in May. About 25 residents attended and expressed concerns about traffic, loss of open space, the impact of 2-story structures on adjacent properties, the use of view fences, drainage, and any future plans for more residential development of the golf course. The public hearing was initially scheduled for May 17th, but was postponed at the request of the applicant and was subsequently held on June 14th. At that public hearing, 5 Palm Valley residents appeared and spoke in opposition, and 1 adjoining owner spoke in support. At the request of the applicant, the commission postponed that matter actually to the August 9th Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. The applicant hosted another neighborhood meeting before the Planning and Zoning Commission's second meeting, and about 36 residents were present. The applicant reported that most were generally supportive, although a few registered objections, again citing some of the same things that were cited previously. Prior to the August 9th public hearing, we received 7 phone calls and 10 emails in opposition to the proposal and 10 emails in favor of the request, and the ones in opposition are outlined in red on this map, and the ones in favor are highlighted in green. The second public hearing was held on August 9th, and the notice of the hearing was mailed to all the owners of adjoining property within 500 feet and to those who appeared at the previous Planning Commission meeting. The ads were published in the newspaper and a sign was posted on the property. 5 persons spoke in favor of the request and 4 spoke against the request. None of the protest was from the owners of the property within 150 feet, which is the distance specified by state statute, which could result in an extraordinary vote being required to approve any rezoning request. The Planning Commission recommended approval by a vote of 4-1. Staff has reviewed the proposed development and believes it is consistent with the subject property's neighborhood land use designation in the general plan, and that the proposed single-family uses will be compatible with the surrounding area in terms of land use, and impacts of additional traffic generated by the project will be mitigated by certain improvements being required. Excuse me. The project offers a variety of housing product in the form of duplex and triplex, which is a product that we don't currently have much of in Goodyear, in addition to some standard detached single-family homes. The medium-density housing product serves as a transition between the lower-density product to the west and the commercial uses along Litchfield Road, and will provide additional housing units that can be will support this commercial activity node. For that reason, we are recommending to the City Council that you adopt Resolution 17-1803, which declares as a public record the PAD document, and that you also adopt Ordinance Number 17-1351, which will conditionally zone the property subject to stipulations. I do have one correction I need to ask you to consider. The development standards listed in Table C inadvertently was a prior version of the development standards, and we had provided you with a replacement page for page 6 of the PAD document. The only change is that originally the side setback, minimum side setback in the medium density residential was proposed at 4, and we required it to be 5. That change was made in one version, but somehow didn't make it into the final version. I apologize for that and would ask that any motion that is considered for, to approve this request include that replacement page that you've been provided. That concludes my presentation, and at this point, I would like to turn the floor over to Mr. Ed Bull, who is representing the Meritage Homes Company.
All right, you have my permission?
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. Ed Bull, 702 East Osborne. I'm representing Meritage Homes. I'd like to begin by expressing appreciation for neighbors, whether they're for or against or neutral, for their input throughout the process, and appreciate also the recommendations for approval from the Planning Commission and staff. We listen to neighbors, we listen to staff, and as Joe's recapped, and I'll touch on some items as well, we didn't just listen, we made changes along the way to respond to requests from staff, to respond from request neighbors. We appreciate the support. We respect those who are still in opposition. As you know, many people come to neighborhood meetings and then we never hear from them again. So we appreciate that process. We recommend or request that you approve this application in accordance with the recommendations that are made to you by the Planning Commission and the City Council. Before I get into recapping some highlights, I want to introduce some folks that are here from Meritage and from Golden Buffalo and from Hilgart Wilson. And that Eric Montgomery and Bruce Schroeder are here from Meritage Homes. Roger Nelson is here from Golden Buffalo Golf. And Ron Hilgard is here from Hilgart Wilson. If you have questions, any of us or all of us will do our best to answer them. Without repeating any more than I need to of Joe's very detailed, not only written staff report, but PowerPoint and presentation this evening, I do want to highlight a small handful of items so that I believe are particularly important as we're talking about this site. As we're talking about this site, which we call Vistas at Palm Valley, importantly, the property that's outlined in red, as you know, has a vacant driving range at the southern part, which I understand was problematic when it was operating, and it's not exactly the pride of the area now that it's vacant. But importantly, the northern part, which is encircled, which is a part of the Lakes Golf Course, there are no houses on those 4 holes. There are no houses abutting those 4 holes. The 4 holes that are proposed to be included in this development will then, revenue from that, which Golden Buffalo could respond to and more if you want, part of that revenue would be used to further enhance the remaining 14 holes and turn them into 9 championship holes. But importantly, there are no houses abutting or within these 4 holes. That's photos of the vacant driving range and adjacent property. But when we talk about neighborhood outreach, which is a very important part of this process, we believe, as Joe indicated, we had 3 neighborhood meetings. In addition to that, there were a number of one-on-one conversations and other communications that occurred. And as a part of that process, as has been touched on, and as I mentioned, we listened and we made changes. And those changes included, as is outlined here, and it was on one of Joe's slides, all of the blue asterisks are limited to 1-story homes. We increased open space. We made a number of other adjustments within the development. But importantly, 1 story is provided where neighbors requested that 1 story be. And candidly, more than that, along Litchfield Road, where we have all 1 story along Litchfield, all along Palm, and then adjacent to the school and to the west as well. Importantly, we believe with respect to golf, every house that currently is along the 14 holes that will be converted to 9 championship holes if you're inclined to approve and we can proceed. Every house that's currently on golf will remain on golf. And we want to emphasize and re-emphasize that because we perceive some neighbors may have thought more of this golf course was being developed than only the 4 holes that we're talking about. As we talk about additional changes, and this, like the site plan that you had in front of you that was on its side, north here is to the right, so that's Palm Valley Boulevard to the right. The purple indicates the one-story homes that were blue asterisks. The light green indicates a 90 to 100 feet, over 100 feet in width area along what is the western area, which is an open space and drainage corridor area. The darker green Joe talked about for additional buffer to the south and east adjacent to commercial properties. Also importantly, at the intersection of the private drive and Litchfield Road, there's 3 stipulations that address things that Meritage has been asked to address by staff and by some neighbors, and that's to add additional striping to the private drive, which Meritage is happy to work with other owners associated with that private drive to do. Stipulation 6 calls for the installation of a southbound right turn decel lane, which is normally required today, but was not required when Litchfield was approved years ago. And then we're being asked to contribute to a possible future traffic signal at that intersection if and when signal warrants are satisfied. Those and other factors were things that were important to a number of neighbors and staff to deal with some existing conditions and to deal with some future conditions as well. We've also have other things on here, such as the blue clouds indicate an area where 2 particular homeowners asked us to not put view fencing along those 2 lots. We agreed not to, and then around the existing cell towers, will provide an 8-foot tall CMU wall and disclose those towers and so on as well. Those are among some of the things that were changed in response to neighbors' input and to staff's input along the way. We also, as Joe indicated, reduced the lot count, removed the lot that was closest to the immediate corner of Litchfield and Palm, opened up that corner dramatically, and provided additional landscaping and other features there, and also additional landscaping elsewhere along the street frontages and elsewhere on the property. The collective, I don't know why I'm stuck. Here we go. Among the changes and benefits we believe that are occurring here is not only taking care of redeveloping this property, which is ripe, maybe overripe for infill redevelopment, and providing appropriate transition and diverse high-quality housing. And by the way, the housing that's on the top board is the attached housing product, which neighbors had questions about at the first and second neighborhood meeting, and some at the third neighborhood meeting. But many neighbors were very complimentary of that housing architecture. Not all were, but many were for attached housing with the duplex product that's all 1-story, the triplex product, which has the 1-story on the ends and the 2-story in the middle. But all of the other kinds of things, some of which are listed here with the 1-story and the traffic improvements and the 26% open space and buffers and view fencing and so on and so forth, all those things were the result of having meetings and listening not only to staff, but listening to neighbors and internally making adjustments and changes. Coming out of it, we again appreciate the input of all neighbors, whether they're in support or in opposition or neutral. We appreciate the careful analysis that was done by both the Planning Commission and staff, and appreciate their recommendations for approval and accept all 17 recommended stipulations. And we request your council's approval in accordance with those commission and staff recommendations for approval.
Thank you
If
very
you
much.
have questions, we'll try to answer them. Otherwise, if I may, reserve a few minutes for rebuttal, I'd ask that opportunity.
I think the
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, now is the time for those that would like to speak on this agenda item, and let you know I have 11 of them. Now, as the mayor, I can take privilege and have them combined if people are going to say the same thing, but I decided not to tonight. So what I'm going to ask you when I call you up, the people that are sitting in the audience, in this council, there'll be no cheering and yelling and clapping and carrying on, okay? This is serious, and you're serious about it, and we are too. But I will clear the room if I find that happen. So I just want to warn you, that's sort of how I run the dais. I want everybody that's up there to be able to speak clearly and that we hear what they say. So again, I'm going to call your name out. Please forgive me if I'm mispronouncing names. As you come up, remember that you need to say your name and your address, and that you'll have 3 minutes. The yellow light will light up, and then a buzzer will let you know you have 30 seconds, so you can kind of just sum it up. Before you begin to speak again, be sure you give us that information of name and address. So the first one up is John Wood. Mr. Wood?
Thank you, and good evening, Mayor and City Council. Thank you for having me up. Name is John Wood. Address is 13630 West La Riata Avenue. Palm Valley is a community. Unfortunately, Palm Valley as a community was not informed properly from the outset. The developers have talked about correspondence going out and only a few persons going to the meetings and such. Well, that's because a lot of Palm Valley was not notified of any of the proceedings. They had, I guess the law states that you have to send out information to 500 feet of the residents of the plan to be rezoned. Well, I live a little bit more than 500 feet. I live really close to Palm Valley Elementary School. This new proposed Palm Valley addition is not good for all the citizens. Growth is wonderful. Growth is good. This proposition needs to be sent back to rezone or to the zoning committee and gone over again to get rid of things that are going to be a hazard, like no sidewalks for the south entrance. The south entrance is going past busy restaurants. It's going past a hotel. There aren't any sidewalks for the children trying to leave, especially in the high density area that is this two-story buildings, the duplex and triplex, which are going to have children living there. And the children are going to be growing eventually and be needing a place to park their vehicles. There is not enough room in the higher density area to park vehicles. There's already parking problems in some of the other gated community areas of Palm Valley. We don't need to add to that. There's a new multi-million dollar facility for golfing going in at Westgate. Is there a problem why Westgate could handle it and why Palm Valley could not have done it? If the people who are planning on this building section, if they called the driving range a blight area, how did it become a blighted area? Aren't there zoning requirements? Aren't there codes in Goodyear that require it to be kept up in a proper fashion? Well, that's part of my spiel. I don't have enough time for the rest, but I definitely oppose this. I wish it would be sent back to the zoning committee, thought about again, and we'll see what happens. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ward. The next person, excuse me, is Pat Murray. Would somebody help her with that microphone really before we don't even start yet? Pick it up and put it there. Okay.
Hi, my name is Pat Murray. Good evening. I'm here to show my support and my approval for Palm Valley rezoning the Lakes Course. I think it's a very good idea. I'm afraid that if they don't rezone it and they're losing money on it, they may close the course and property values would go down. So I'd like you to consider approving it. Oh, my name, I said my name. I'm at 13319 West Cypress Street. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Marie. All right, the next one is Elizabeth Munns. Elizabeth?
Good evening. My name is Elizabeth Mance. My address is 2000 North 136 Lane. And my family and I also support the rezoning of the Palm Valley Phase 2 to the vistas at Palm Valley. We also would prefer to see housing go in rather than let the golf course close and then sit vacant.
Thank you very much, Ms. Marie. The next one is Danny Fulton.
Thank you very much. I'm Danny Fulton. I live at 2408 North 142nd Drive, and I'm here to speak in support of the project also. I attended all three of the neighborhood meetings, and through that process, I observed that Meritage Homes and the Palm Valley Golf Club worked diligently with homeowners and property owners with their concerns and tried to find ways to alleviate those or resolve them. I believe this project's a win-win for everyone involved. I think it's definitely a win for the golf club. I think that it's a sound financial decision on their part. I think it gives them an opportunity to successfully manage a championship quality golf course. Second, I think it's a win for the property owners who have property adjacent to the golf course. If that golf course becomes a well-managed championship golf course, then I believe it has potential to increase property values, and let alone maintain our property values at current. And third, I think it's a win for the city of Goodyear. I think it's a process that will generate revenue. There'll be a wider tax base, more people paying property tax, also bring more people in the neighborhood that will possibly spend money in the area, and thus increasing revenue from sales tax. I sincerely believe this is a positive endeavor, and I proudly support it, and I would hope that you would support it and approve Meritage Homes' request. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. The next name is Kerr Rhea, or is it Ray? I think it's Ray. You spell it a little differently.
I answered about anything on that as far as the Rio Ray or whatever, but that's fine. My name's Kurt Ray. I'm from 801 West Azure Lane in Litchfield Park. My wife and I bought here in 2010, and we come from a small community. It only had a 9-hole course, and we were 30 miles away from an 18-hole course. And there is 8 18-hole courses within a 2-mile radius of our home, so we had choices to where we had become members to. And we have been a member of Palm Valley Golf Course for 5 years and proud to be that. And I'm not only here representing myself, but also my wife, and I run a Wednesday golf league at Palm Valley, and I have 36 members on there, and we're all in favor of this project and with open arms for the 9-hole championship course to be added to it, and we hope that you support it as well. Thank you.
Thank you. The next one is David Laskos.
Good evening, Ms. Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council. My name is David Laskos. I live at 14231 West Harvard Street, which is a Palm Valley Preserve, formerly known as the Palm Valley Cottages. And it's on the second hole of the Palm Valley Lakes course now, which will be the 5th hole of the reconfigured course. I've been to all 3 of the neighborhood meetings, at a planning zoning meeting, and at all of them, we've heard the same message from the golf course. The Lakes course is in financial trouble. we need to do this development to see if we can't resolve that situation. Every day we see businesses that are closing their doors because they're not profitable. To the golf course's credit, they never said they would do that, but because they've always said it wasn't their preferred option, but it is an option. Currently, right now, there's 161 homes that are adjacent to that golf course in 5 different subdivisions that span from Palm Valley Boulevard north to Thomas. Our question tonight is what kind of impact would we have if that golf course closes? Excuse me. It's not hard to go and find studies and statistics about what happens when golf course closes, but typically you can expect a 5 to 20% immediate impact, negative impact on property values when a golf course closes. It's also an impact on the tax base for the community. So keep that in mind as we decide to make this decision. A lot of the homeowners in the area are still trying to recover from the recent recession. And a lot of those homeowners paid a big dividend, a big premium for those golf course lots. All of that goes away, and they will never recoup that money. And a lot of it is, just as we're starting to pull out of that recession and starting to make some money on our property, now we're going to take a 5 to 20% hit on it. It just doesn't make sense. The proposal it seems to be a good resolution to keep the golf course and the golf course lots so no one loses their view, as was stated. We avoid the loss of property values due to the golf course closures, and we avoid having another weed-infested big lot back there that everybody has to look for. So as a golf course resident, as a resident of Palm Valley Preserve, I urge the City Council to approve the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Committee and approve this development. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Guy Hack. Shay.
My name is Guy Hashay, 14428 West Edgemont Avenue. Thank you, Mayor Lord, committee members. It seems the big worry that everybody has, as explained by the builder to the residents that attended their meeting, was if this doesn't happen, the golf course is going to close, it's going to become blighted. Well, let me ask you, do you trust your code and compliance officers? If you do, then you would respect the law that the property maintenance on your website states. The city cannot force any person owning, leasing, or otherwise having control of the property to landscape their property. The city does not intervene in aesthetics or landscaping appearances. However, properties must be maintained and free of uncontrolled vegetation. Any person owning or occupying any building or property is required to remove all trash, weeds, refuse, and accumulation of filth and debris from the property. And this important last line, landscaping and irrigation systems must also be maintained. I'm asking this council to request the last 5 years of financial statement to confirm that they are in fact in dire straits and have no alternative but to sell the property, just so we could get an average of just how bad it is for them. Trust but verify. Only for the Lakes course. And a lot of people are saying that they didn't receive any notices. I live 1.5 miles from that corner. Why did I receive an invitation from the builder and also from the planning and zoning meeting, and I live 1.5 miles? Why did I? Did anybody else who lives that far get one of these? No. So as far as information getting out there to people who need to know about it, because it's not just about adjacent homes to those 4 holes, it's Palm Valley. Flat out, it's Palm Valley. Help keep our neighborhood desirable. It belongs to all of us in Palm Valley, not just 20 homes that are on the driving range. Thank you.
Thank you. Rosalind Miller.
Good evening. My name is Rosalind Miller. I'm at 2721 North 144th Drive. So I'm within blocks of one side of that, on Thomas, of the golf course. I'm kind of conflicted hearing the information about the golf course. I don't play golf. What I like about it, I moved here in 2005, was kind of at the end of the planned community. So for me, driving down Litchfield and seeing those two lakes when you enter Litchfield and Palm Valley Road, I was on my way to Pebble Creek, and I saw that, and that whole environment just kind of did it for me. I remember during that time, Goodyear was getting a lot of awards for the communities and the neighborhoods. So my concern with this is that we start building houses, and I'm not against development or redevelopment or anything of that kind. Just plug it in houses for the tax revenue, and then you affect quality of life, and the aesthetics of what Goodyear is all about kind of goes away. I guess I'm kind of unsure about what it means from going from a 14-hole golf course to a 9-hole golf course. Where are the guarantees that even when you do that, they still might have financial trouble, and then next thing you know, you're plugging in the rest of the open space with more housing. So my concern is that we're going to lose the character of the neighborhood. I think it's a beautiful neighborhood the way it is. Walking through those open spaces, like I said, I don't play golf, but I walk around the areas, and my concern is that we're going to lose the character of it and just have an area where we just have housing everywhere and lose the character of the city. So I would hope that the council would take that into consideration when they look at this, if there's any way to get some guarantees about what's going to happen if you get it down to 9 holes and we make all the new developments and then they're still in trouble, then they sell the rest of the land and then the golf course goes anyway. So I guess that's my main issue, is a quality of life thing, the beauty of the neighborhood. The houses are beautiful, but will end up looking just like any other neighborhood.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. The next one is Mike Painter.
My name is Mike Painter, 2197 North 132nd Drive. I'm here to support the change for the golf course. I think it's good for the golf course. I think it's good for the neighborhood. And that's really all I have to say.
Thank you very much. Mary Larson.
Hello, Mary Larson, 14094 West Woodbridge Avenue, Goodyear. I am here as a resident of Palm Valley. Personally, I don't have any issues with the proposed development, but I am also here as the president of the Palm Valley Community Center Board. And just as a point of clarification, these homes would not necessarily become part of the Palm Valley Community Center. That is something that would have to go as a vote among our members. But that said, Meritage has worked with us and has reached out to us.
Thank you, Ms. Larson.
Thank you.
Now, I have 2 cards, so I do want to be able to, this said, will speak if question or necessary. So that was Bruce Schroeder. You're all right? Okay. And Eric Montgomery. All right, we're all set then. Thank you. I believe we've finished with all the speakers, so I'm going to close the public hearing. Will the city clerk please read resolution number 17-1803 by title only, please?
Adopt resolution number 17-1803, declaring as a public record that certain document filed with the city clerk entitled Vistas at Palm Valley Final Planned Area Development dated July 27, 2017.
All right. Could I please have a motion?
So moved.
I heard a motion by Vice Mayor Campbell and a second by Councilman Loretano. Open for council discussion. No. No. Oh, Councilman Osborne.
Thank you. As long as my voice holds out, I will state my case. So first of all, I really appreciate all of our citizens that have reached out to the council in support and in opposition. It's great when our citizens let us know and are part of the process. Obviously, we're going to do our best to have a win-win situation, but sometimes that just doesn't work. But I want everyone to know that we listen, and I had many questions. You all that came up and spoke had to tell where you live. Well, I also am a resident of Palm Valley. I'm in Palm Valley 1, and have been a resident for 16 years. So, I thoroughly enjoy our neighborhood and our area. And I also want to thank the golf course and the developer because, sometimes things change. And some areas and some industries find that something that used to be very well liked and a business, retail, changes. And you have to kind of change with it. So, I respect the fact that they found this in their industry, that maybe they would have a product that did better in a nine-course type of atmosphere. So, I do appreciate that, and I understand that we have to look at all those. Now, back to the fact that I am in Palm Valley. I'm also in Palmilla, which is the gated community right off of McDowell and Palm Valley Boulevard. And the way that our neighborhood is set up is extremely similar to this product. And so, I really looked at this with a fine-tooth comb. There are a few differences that, one, I do appreciate the fact that there are two entries and exits for the residents of these two products. And that's important because in my community, there's an emergency exit, but there's only one gate that allows residents to come in and out of. And that can be very difficult. I will give you a couple of the questions that I am still concerned about for this neighborhood. And that some of that relates back to the experience that I have with my own neighborhood, because there's not a lot of products like this in Goodyear to really see what happens in these neighborhoods. Now, the way Palmilla Boulevard goes off of Palm Valley Boulevard is a straight through roadway that goes from the regular homes to the court homes in the back. None of those homes along Palmilla Boulevard face Palmilla Boulevard, which is different than the way that you have your private main entrance. You have that one roadway going all the way down to Parcel B from Parcel A, and the homes that I get on one side do face that roadway. From what I can tell here, and I will need help with understanding this, we have issues with drivers that once they get through the gates and they have that straight line path down to the court homes, they start to build up speed and they can go pretty quickly. And there's no homes facing that road. So I am a little concerned over the homes that, 1 through, I don't have my glasses on, almost 20, that do face that roadway. Then you have a tot lot right there. By the time a car is starting to pick up its speed at House 7, where that tot lot is, they could be going straight down the roadway. So I am a little concerned over that for the safety and the fact that that tot lot is right there. And I would like to hear how you're going to address some of that calming through there. The other thing is that, I had many questions about that other entrance into past the Montessori school, how you're going to protect, that schoolway. and the ingress and egress on Litchfield Road. You did answer those questions, so I appreciate that. I think that's covered. The other thing is that, you know, we did have one speaker that is in opposition that is concerned about just the atmosphere. You know, we are used to that open space, and whether or not you know, that is an ongoing planning and zoning, you know, argument back and forth. Do you count golf courses as open space or not? And sometimes it gets into the mix and sometimes it doesn't. But you know what? It may not be active open space, but you do see it, you do feel it. You do see those green cascading, rolling, you know, areas. What I'm seeing in your landscaping package right here looks like it's all granite with the exception of a couple of those tot lots, so correct me if I'm wrong. So I do have a little issue with a ton of granite when you have almost 200 homes in this area and you have really 2 tot lots. And really, I don't know where the next big park is. I can't tell from here. So how close these kids can get to it does concern me. So, you know, those are some of my issues. The calming measures for Montessori, the issue of speed going down those private streets. I do have one question. Is this going to be a brand new HOA, or this will be all part of Palm Valley as a whole? Because there can be issues with that, being that it's private streets and I'm already living that issue. So I leave that to...
We'd like to address that, some of her questions. Mr. Bull?
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Osborne. With respect, I'd like to get a plan up here if I can. All right. This is a landscape plan, which, if I may, I will use to address some of your comments because north is up, and I think that's helpful for purposes of the discussion. So with respect to the entry that comes in off of Palm Valley Boulevard and the street that meanders southwesterly, which I believe is the street that you were asking questions about, there's a number of things that are going on there with respect to what we consider to be built-in traffic calming measures and some additional things that we'd like to add in response to your questions. With this being a private gated street, as you know, all traffic coming in or going out comes to a stop or close to a stop coming one way or the other through that gate. So there's traffic calming that occurs at the perimeter. In addition to that, this street intentionally has a number of curvilinear features and curves that occurs within the street, which are techniques that our planners and traffic engineers often use to incorporate traffic calming methodology. As well as that, as you know, there's a number of intersections that occur along this street for the kind of the east-west connecting streets that occur all along there, and those connections themselves tend to, our traffic engineer explains, help calm and slow traffic at those intersections. We have those things going on, and by the fact that it's also a private street, we can, if problems arise or we perceive that there's problems driving it and so on and so forth, can of course post speed limit signs on there that can be different than speed limit signs on public streets, and can post additional slow children at play or slow cart path crossing kind of signage or other improvements that could occur along that street as built-in traffic calming features, which is something that Meritage intends to do.
You will put in that children at play sign now for me? Thank you. Okay.
I don't know if it got on the microphone or not, but Eric just answered, absolutely. Okay. With respect to your second question or line of questions, which has to do with the private drive, and it's the private drive which runs along the north edge of the Montessori school and then between the hotel and restaurant and so on. Again, that is a private drive which, if the application is approved and Meritage is then in a position to go ahead and close escrow and have a seat at the table to work with other property owners on that private drive, it's Meritage's intention to, again, meet with other property owners, including the Montessori school, who we've had multiple discussions with, and I don't believe she was here this evening, but she spoke at 2 prior commission hearings in support. But there's a number of, again, the gate occurs there, so all traffic coming or going right at the west edge of the Montessori school comes to a stop or nearly to a stop. The private drive itself is about 38 feet of pavement on a 44-foot wide private easement that runs through there. We've committed through the stipulations to make improvements where we can at the east end with additional signage and so on at the east end. And we've also had discussions with Kim Anderson, who is one of the co-owners and operators of the Montessori school, and with city staff about some signage-related ideas that staff had exchanged with the Montessori school long before we came on the scene. So there's ongoing dialogue, ongoing sensitivity to school children at the Montessori school and traffic calming. In fact, Joe and a gentleman from Meritage and I stood in the parking lot, I don't know, about 4 o'clock, 4:30 one afternoon as school was letting out, which is probably the peak time or one of the 2 peak times for traffic and so on, and exchanged a number of ideas that Meritage is willing to help with if we have a seat at the table and other property owners are willing to cooperate as well. Move on to the third one? Yes?
Go ahead.
Okay. With respect to your third question having to do with atmosphere and open space and so on, and I can get back up on the screen if you want. Again, there's not a lake proposed any longer at this southwest quadrant. No other lakes within the balance of the golf course are proposed to go away at all. This corner is being enhanced with not only additional land area at the corner on the outside of the wall, but considerable additional landscaping and atmosphere that is a direct result of, as are a number of these changes, a direct result of input from neighbors at neighborhood meetings and related discussions. So at the same time that we recognize that there's challenges with the driving range when it operated and now that it's not, and challenges with the short course, there's a number of things being woven into this package to take care of those challenges and actually improve the balance of the course with 9 championship holes so it can operate as 27 championship holes rather than championship 18 and short 18, including making a dramatic corner statement. Part of what is probably easier seen as well on this overall landscaping plan as you go from the intersection of Palm and Litchfield going west. Again, there's a substantial amount of separation between the curb and the closest homes, all of which is being landscaped. And then when you go down Litchfield, it's not only the normally required landscape setback plus some, but it really opens up dramatically the further south you go, all of which is being landscaped. And again, all that landscaping is between the street and one-story homes. So there's substantial efforts that's been put into the planning by Meritage and Hilgart Wilson and by Golden Buffalo's input as well to to change the existing condition, to improve upon it, and to, as you noted, recognize the world in a variety of ways has changed, and to improve and take that as an opportunity for improvement along the streetscapes and elsewhere within the development. With respect to whether or not this will be a separate HOA or not, that's part of what's still pending from one of the speakers who spoke to talk about input between Meritage and the Community Association and the HOA and so on. One way or the other, Meritage will have its own HOA within this development that will be responsible for maintaining the private streets and gates and walls and common areas and so on within this Vistas at Palm Valley development, which will be this HOA or sub-HOA's responsibility, not the responsibility of a larger HOA. If I missed any of your questions, I apologize.
We need to move on to someone else.
That's fine. I do have one follow-up, though. When let
Maybe
someone else.
someone will,
that's
maybe
fine.
someone will have that. Councilman Loretano.
Okay, first of all, I want to thank all the residents that came here, that emailed us. We got several emails from everybody else about their position and their thoughts on it. I think overall it's a really good plan. I think the product that is going to be coming to Goodyear is something we don't have and would be something that people are looking for. What are the sizes of the court? I've got a couple of questions. What are the sizes of the court homes, the duplexes and triplexes? And I know there was a question about parking. If you could explain where they're going to park there, I think that might help some people who don't know.
Okay. With respect to the square footage of the duplexes and triplexes, which again are the large board at the top, the square footages of the duplexes are approximately 1860 to 1920 square feet. The square footages of the triplexes are approximately 2,670 square feet. With respect to parking, as you can see, there's garage doors there. On the duplex, which is on the right, you see one garage door. What you don't see is a side entry garage door as well for a two-car garage. So every dwelling unit in the duplex has an enclosed two-car incorporated into the dwelling unit garage, and then a driveway which is approximately 20 feet in length, which is a typical driveway length for a single-family detached home or otherwise. On the triplex, which is the one with the two garage doors that you can see, again, there's a side entry garage door. And as you know, having a mixture of forward-facing and side entry garages is something that the city for years has encouraged as a part of design diversity. So there again, each dwelling unit within a triplex building has an enclosed, incorporated into the dwelling unit, two-car garage, plus the driveway apron for parking. In addition to that, the streets in this parcel B, which is the duplex and triplex portion of the development, while they're narrower, they're wide enough, I believe, Ron, to have parking on one side of the street, but not on both, but on one side of the street. So while we recognize and heard from some neighbors some parking-related concerns and some other attached product developments in the city of Goodyear, we listened and tried to be responsive in what we hope is a responsible manner.
And like I said, I think it's a very good product. For the neighbors that are really concerned about the golf course, I think this is actually going to enhance that golf course. It's going to give an opportunity to have a more, well, I guess a different course and a higher quality course, which should also increase those values for the whole community and not just those right on the golf course. My other question is, Councilmember Osborne brought up a couple things about the green space. The landscaping plan you have up now, would there be the opportunity for some of that additional to add some more just passive green space, like maybe around the corners or something? Is that something that could be looked at or anything?
I don't remember if it was in Joe's presentation or not, but in the PAD book, there's some exhibits that have some vignettes in it and so on. So the pocket parks have, I mean, they're places where people can play is green. There's green accents at the entryway feature off of Palm, and then there's going back to the corner feature itself. There's green that's occurring
I'm just thinking
there.
like some of the, because I think her concern was a little more high-end dry green space, maybe around the edges if that could be done.
It's on the interior, really.
Or on the interior, where people, I guess, kids could go just play kickball or something, type of thing. That's what I think you're getting at. I'm not sure.
May I have a moment?
Yeah,
I don't know where we put it, but may I have a moment?
Yeah.
You may.
Parents are going to want to find out sometime. Yeah, that's people are going to like that. Yeah, could we just green that? That's what you're talking about, right? Just green spaces for high and dry. Sometimes this is just looks and not totally done. And that's not. No.
So is Thomas before Palm Valley?
Let my side go. There you go.
It is, isn't it?
You can add some in.
Mayor and council member, let me try to answer the question. Because, again, we've intentionally provided turf in areas where it's appropriate, where people would play in the pocket parks and so on and so forth, and in various accent areas. There is, I believe, also is or could be turf on the dividing line between single family. So,
yeah,
I don't, right. So here's a pocket park.
Yeah.
Here's a pocket park. That is or can be turf, which is an additional area that I think is responsive to your question as to whether kids could kick a ball around or something like that. I don't think it makes sense to add turf for kids to play in along Litchfield or along Palm Valley, or necessarily along here. I mean, I think that needs to be a place where there's considerable trees and so on leading to the pocket park. So we hear you, and if those three areas plus the accents that are provided at the entry and at the corner are responsive to your question, great. If you are asking for something more than that, we're willing to work with staff to look for someplace else to put it, but I really don't know where that
I think you got your pointer right about there. Could you do it right in that open space there?
Right here?
Oh, up a little.
Up here?
Yeah, kind of around
retention?
there. Well, it could be retention and still
Or next
grass.
to number 45.
Path. That's a golf cart path.
Golf cart path.
Yeah, we can add some turf there. I think we need to be sensitive to the cart path going through, but maybe in this area or thereabouts to add some turf.
I think that would probably be good, because then you could get those people in that area close. I think that's great.
I'm going to interject something in there because I live in a golf course, okay? So that's a great, I mean, I understand you want more green, but there could be a golf ball accent there. I'm not sure you want to, that's a golf path. That's a golf cart path.
But no golf balls.
Well,
People driving golf carts, they go 30 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Okay, well, what about the spot next to 45? That is on the interior.
I think they got
No golf cart
I
path.
mean, if you think it's safe, then go right ahead.
I hear
but,
you. No, I
yeah.
understand that.
I think it's going
I think that Meritage is in the area that we were talking about, you know, in here, I personally think, and I think Meredith agrees, that we ought to have trees and so on along the path, but if there's a pocket here which is adequately separated from the path to provide some additional turf, we're very open to doing that.
Thank you, thank you. And again, I want to say I think it's a very well laid out plan, and I don't mean to nitpick, but I kind of understand what Councilman Osborne was saying, you know, because when the kids are little, you want them close enough where they can just go out and play, because a lot of these court homes, they're great, aren't going to have big yards to throw the ball or the frisbee. So I do love your development. I do support it, so.
And we appreciate the suggestion. We try to listen and we try to respond. So, thank you.
Councilman Hampton?
Yeah, there we go. Now it's on. So yeah, I think it's a good, well, like everybody else, I think that it's great that a lot of people came out. There's pros and cons and supporting or against the project. It's great to have public input, and it helps make decisions. So thank you for coming out. And yeah, and one question I had was the golf course cart path where it crosses the street internally in the division. Is there going to be anything there that marks off so no accidents would happen with a golf cart coming through there? I'm sure there's something there.
Talking about
right there,
right
yep.
here. Yes, I don't know exactly what the wording on the sign would be, but it'd probably be something like cart crossing or
yeah,
or some striping or other treatment that
yeah.
would occur to
kids
in carts.
Kids in cart. I just know we had a death at one point going across Palm Valley in a golf cart, and I just want to make sure that or during Public Creek, I mean, so let's make sure we're adequately good there. But yeah, I think I'm for it. The entire proposal. I like that the market's coming back and we're getting more infill type products throughout the other subdivisions throughout Goodyear as the market stopped and stalled out. That's a good sign that things are coming back. So the only other thing is, I know as soon as you have Meritage has a say at the table, I do agree that it would be great to have a little sidewalk or something on the second entrance so people who are walking to Macaroni Grill or things like that can be safer. But until they have a spot, I understand that we can't change that right now. So, and it's private property, so the city has no real say in that. But okay, that's all I had. Thank you.
All right, Vice Mayor?
Oh, thank you very much. I have a couple of comments. Ed, I'm going to give them first to staff, and then I'll ask you. I am a member of the Palm Valley Golf Course, and I play the Lakes course a lot. And I agree that golf is dwindling, and it's not that much of a challenge anymore. And especially those of us that are scratch golfers, we want to be challenged more. And we can play at the Wigwam on the Gold, Heritage, or Patriot course, but I want to play in Goodyear and spend my money here, and I'm really looking forward to a championship course. I think it can be a win-win for us, and it will be a destination for those serious golfers who really want to come and test their skills. As far as the golf carts go, almost everyone knows what the golf cart crossing signs mean, and generally they will have a stop sign for the golf cart driver to stop before they proceed across the street. However, that intersection will still be marked north and southbound or east-westbound, however it's going, that is a crossing, in fact, for a golf cart. I happen to have a little souped-up golf cart myself, and I can go about 35 or 40 miles because I had it souped up so I could drive on the Goodyear streets, and I have a license plate on my golf cart, so I can drive my cart up to Safeway and not get in trouble. So those carts go really, some of them faster than others, so I want to be very careful with putting any kind of a play area beside the golf cart path. The ball runs across the path, and here comes a golf cart, and then we're going to have an incident. I walked the driving range again this weekend, and there is an area, and I'm going to give this to Rebecca because I don't know who to give it to. And Rebecca doesn't want it, I know. Behind the academy, there is a wooden bridge that you walk across to get to where the driving range was. That wooden bridge is rotten, and the boards are loose, and when you walk across it, you can feel the whole bridge going. I don't know who owns that property, but I don't want to suit against the city should someone get on that bridge and fall through. There's also evidence that there might have been some camping, homeless people. No, I shouldn't say that because I don't know who it is. That there might be some activity that has occurred in the drainage ditch around that area and in those bushes. That whole undeveloped area is such an eyesore. When I moved here in 2000, I did use that driving range a lot. And then I found a better driving range, and I don't even remember when this one ceased to work or ceased to operate. But it is an abandoned site. The trees are dying. I wouldn't be surprised if it had snakes because it's just that type of thing. And I just think we need to take a look really at that bridge. I'm worried about it. And the sides are very wobbly.
Okay, and thank you, Mayor and Vice Mayor. And regardless of what happens this evening, we have been going out there with code, and code actually falls under Christopher's area, but they've been very active in this area. As one of the gentlemen that came up and said earlier that they've been interacting with code, we will certainly take a look at all of those items you've mentioned this evening and see what we can do.
Okay, that would be great. And I wanted to also mention that I envisioned the subdivision in the blighted area, because it really is a blighted area. And honestly, if I lived where the homes lived on the west side of the driving range, and I had to look out at that driving range from my second-story home, I wouldn't like that view very well. So I'm excited that Meritage wants to come into our city. I'm excited that they have a vision that will bring more character to Goodyear. It's going to bring a product that we really do not have here. It's going to offer a quality of life to residents who want these types of homes. And I'm just really excited about it. And I want to thank everyone. I want to thank the folks who have sent us emails in favor and those who have sent us emails in opposition. We hear you, but we need to listen to the owners of the land who say they need to repurpose that golf course before golf is no longer. They need to find a revenue stream, and I think by doing a championship golf course, people will be knocking at the door to play on it.
Thank you, and thank you for giving us insight into the golf, because you have golf. I used to do that. I played that 9 holes all the time, so I can understand. All right, Councilman Pizzillo, we haven't forgotten you.
It's kind of hard at this point because a lot of the questions I was going to ask, and by the way, Wally, I heard your golf cart runs on racing fuel, but that's okay.
It does.
I made a personal call to the school board myself because I know they've had some challenges in the past with students, and I spoke to the school board, chairman, who actually appreciated the fact that somebody from the city of Goodyear called, but they had no problem with the development. So that I felt good about the fact that the school board didn't have an issue. Because I've been to several of their meetings. I've got some grandgirls that go to the Palm Valley Elementary. In fact, I live in Palm Valley. My house backs right up to Palm Valley Boulevard. Okay, I've been there for 15 years. All right, so I've have grandgirls that go to that. So again, I want to make sure the school, because they had to relocate and the school seems to be growing, they didn't have an issue. Second thing is the cell towers. I talked to Meritage, and the only question I really have on that is you need the cell towers. I understand it. But I don't want people coming before the council after they're looking to buy a home and say, I need those things moved or improved, when there's a lease on them for the year up to 2031, which nothing's going to happen to those cell towers. They're 2031. So I just want to make sure that there's homes around there, that when people come in and they're looking to buy, they're aware those cell towers aren't going anywhere, okay? And we need them, and I know you can put up, what do you call, palm trees, et cetera, but they're not, my understanding, they're not going to go anywhere to 2031 because that's the lease, all right? So that's a while down. The second, and I'm sure you're going to address that when you put the houses, but the concern I have from a traffic standpoint, and I like the mitigation as far as the slowing it down, but in the area of the triplexes and the duplexes, when people have parties, all right, questions, I don't see any, like where I live right across the street, there's a road that backs up to a person's side yard, so to be honest with you, they can park on that and creates no issue on the roads, because it's a road that really doesn't have any cars going into driveways, et cetera. But the way I see this, it looks like that's the case. So when you lay out that road, especially the duplexes and the triplexes are a little closer, is parking going to be an issue, since you say the road's wide enough for 3 cars, but that's about it. And that's why when they were asking questions earlier as far as where the kids will play, I prefer to try to keep them in the, what do you call it, the greenbelt areas that you have, because when you got cars parking on the streets, you always got to worry about kids darting in and out, chasing a ball from the front yard. That's always a kind of a concern of mine. So just kind of curious there on the traffic pattern, just to make sure from a party standpoint, because I know there's been some, I've been to some of the communities, I believe it's right off of 91st Avenue. I'm trying to remember the community, but when they get a lot of those homes real close together, there's no place to park when you have visitors come over. So can I just get an address on how you might address that specific issue?
Yes, you may.
Thank you, Mayor, Council Member. With respect to the cell towers, you can't see it on here, and I can pull up a wall plan if you want, but I think, as I mentioned, we'll put an 8-foot wall around them. But in addition to that, Meritage will, of course, disclose in their public report, and will also have a separate disclosure, similar in nature to like Luke Air Force Base disclosures and Phoenix Goodyear disclosures, disclosing to future homeowners, both new homeowners and subsequent resale buyers, that there's cell towers there and they're not going away.
That's all I ask.
Okay. With respect to parking, again, as we talked about, every home has a 2-car garage. They have a approximately 20-foot long driveway, which is adequate for 2 cars in front of the garage, and parking on one side of the street. That's something that we think at least is adequate parking, not only for the residents and their guests, be it at a family party or a birthday party or function like that. It is an alternative housing choice for people who choose to decide to live in an attached home that's not small, but smaller than if you had a 4 or 5 bedroom home. And we believe that the parking that's provided in the alternative locations that can be provided in will be adequate.
Okay, thank you.
We had one more question from Councilman Osborne.
Well, many things have been addressed, and I appreciate it, and I appreciate the creativity and the change. As we worry about our current citizens and how these things impact them, we also worry about our future residents, and that's why I do get picky about certain things that I envision for future families and residents there. So I appreciate you hearing us out and our questions and our concerns. I will still be voting in favor of this, but as you go through this process, I'm still in favor of that area around number 45 and 35 to be green, because I still think you have areas where children need to be. We have become more and more dense in our product, and people don't like as much yard space anymore, and I get that. But we still are putting our children out on the street or in areas where they need to be safe where they're playing. And so that's why I keep hammering that regarding the green space. So I appreciate everything that you guys are doing, and thank you for all that.
Well, counsel, it's to me, and you can see, I want to compliment you on your questions tonight and how thorough you were, so it left you, Mayor, with nothing to say except I think this is a great look, and I'm very pleased with it. So I think we're ready to vote at this time on this one, so may I have a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Pizzillo?
Aye.
Councilmember Loretano? Aye. Councilmember Hampton?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Campbell?
Aye.
Councilmember Osborne?
Aye.
Mayor Lord?
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right. Will the city clerk please read ordinance number 17-1351 by title only, please?
Adopt ordinance number 17-1351, conditionally rezoning 53.6 acres of the Palm Valley Phase 2 Final Planned Area Development PAD, zoning generally located at the southwest corner of Palm Valley Boulevard and Litchfield Road, from open space/golf course and mixed-use commercial land uses to the Vistas at Palm Valley Final Planned Area Development to allow development of low-density residential single-family detached uses and medium-density residential single-family attached uses with modified development standards, amending the zoning map of the City of Goodyear, providing for corrections, severability, non-abridgment, and effective date and penalties.
Thank you very much. Now, council, when I ask for a motion, you need to add with the corrected page 6. Okay, so who's going to take that motion? All right.
I
Vice Mayor?
move that we accept, or that we pass the resolution and accept the page 6 correction.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Councilman Hampton, a second. All right. I think we've had any other council discussion? All right. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Loretano?
Aye.
Councilmember Hampton?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Campbell?
Aye.
Councilmember Osborne?
Aye.
Councilmember Pizzillo?
Aye.
Mayor Lord?
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right. Before we go on, I want to thank the applicant for being so agreeable to come up and take these questions seriously and understand how the community feels. So we really appreciate your response. So thank you. All right, let's go to 7.2 on the business is a public hearing to consider a request to rezone the portion of the PV 303 Final Planned Area Development, which is the PAD, from the PAD/general commercial to the PAD/light industrial. Open public hearing. Hello, Katie. Katie Wilkin, Planning Manager, to present.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. And if it please the council, I have a single presentation that would adhere to items 7.2 and 7.3. They are related cases.
Great.
We received a request to rezone 1/2 acre within the PV 303 planned area development. This property is located north of Indian School Road and east of the Loop 303. You might remember that several months ago we did have an amendment to the PV 303 zoning where several large areas that were designated as commercial were requested and approved by council to be redesignated to light industrial. This is a remnant piece that recently came under control of the same property owner as the rest of PV 303. So their request is to rezone this piece from commercial to light industrial to be in conformance with the surrounding properties. And then item 7.3 is a replat to combine this piece of property with the larger property that's surrounding it. A neighborhood meeting was not required for this request because there are no residents within 500 feet within the notice area. We did send out notice of the request to property owners within 500 feet. We have not received any comment or objections since that time. The change is consistent with the surrounding land uses. It's consistent with the general plan. And therefore, staff recommended approval to the Planning and Zoning Commission. And the Planning and Zoning Commission recommends that the City Council approve the rezoning request. And again, I can give an update when we get to that item, but the 7.3 request is simply a replat to combine this parcel with the larger parcel surrounding.
Thank you.
That would conclude my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any speaker cards?
No, Mayor.
All right. Then I'm going to close the public hearing. And will the city clerk please read ordinance number 17-1363 by title only, please?
Adopt ordinance number 17-1363, conditionally rezoning approximately .5 acres of property within the PV 303 planned area development located at the northeast corner of Indian School Road and the Loop 303 from PAD/general commercial to PAD/light industrial, amending the underlying zoning exhibit of the PV 303 PAD, updating the land use exhibit to PV 303 planned area development dated February 2017, amending the zoning map of the City of Goodyear, providing for corrections, non-abridgment, severability, and effective date and penalties.
Thank you. Could I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I heard a motion from Councilman Loretano and a second from Councilman Pizzillo. Open for council discussion. Vice Mayor?
Katie, I'm sorry, I have a quick question for you. I understand that UPS wants to bring it in with all the other parcel. Do you know what they intend to use that corner for light industrial? What does that mean exactly?
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor Campbell. The specific corner doesn't necessarily have a plan, but that area, you can see the existing building out there, and we understand that the plans are from that building south will be used as parking.
Oh, fine.
So both employee parking and partially for the UPS vehicles.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you very much.
Any other? Yes, Councilman Hampton?
Just a quick question. Is there room also there for if they wanted to put like a little monument sign talking about what that area is? Like, I don't know, what that corner might be for that warehouse area?
Thank you. Actually, that's the original reason that remnant parcel exists was there was going to be a large community signage for the PV 303. There's still going to be signage for PV 303. It's just not going to be quite as large and not including that. There is room that they could put signage because it's going to be owned by UPS. My guess is they would put signage possibly for UPS and not for the larger PV 303 center. So maybe it would say something like UPS at PV 303.
Yeah.
So this wouldn't preclude them from doing that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Hampton?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Campbell?
Aye.
Councilmember Osborne?
Aye.
Councilmember Pizzillo?
Aye.
Councilmember Loretano?
Aye.
Mayor Lord?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We're at 7.3, and Katie has said that she has presented that. So we will consider approving that replat of the final plat of PV 303. Are there any speaker cards?
No, Mayor.
All right. Would anybody like to speak? Without that, then could I have a motion and a second to approve the amendment to the replat of lots 1, 2, and Tract D of the final plat of the PV 303 East, Phase 8, and of the Tract Q of the final plat for Palm Valley Phase 5, parcels 18-22, as recorded in the book 1332 of maps, page 50 of the official records of the Maricopa County, to incorporate an additional 0.551 acres into a Lot 1R and to amend the legal description of the plat boundaries. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I heard a motion from Vice Mayor Campbell and a second from Councilman Pizzillo. Open for council discussion. Any questions? All right, then we're going to vote on this. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Katie, thank you so much. We're going now to 7.4, in the business to consider approving the FY 2018 pavement management projects. Luke Albert, City Traffic Engineer, to present. I don't think it's Luke. You just changed what you look like. So it would be nice when we have a change like that you'd let the mayor know. Thank you. Go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. I'm Ron Siverite, the Streets and Traffic Superintendent, and I'm here to present our 2018 pavement management projects. And what we are seeking here is approval to budget expenditure not exceed $3,974,000 for the FY 2018 pavement management projects. And we're also asking for approval for a budget transfer of $111,600 from the FY 2013 surplus of the Arizona Lottery funds. And this will be used to repair non-compliant ADA ramps along Goodyear transit routes. Now, below is a breakdown of the funding. Our 2018 pavement management budget is $3,072,000. We're using our ADOT detour route funding of $902,000 for roads that surround where they used it for the detour for the 303 building, and then the Arizona Laundry funding of $111,600 for a total of $4,085,600. This kind of gives an overview of our budget from 2013 to 2018, how our budgets fluctuated, and then in 2016, where due to council's focus, we were able to add some additional funding to do some more roadways over the last 3 years, fiscal years 16, 17, and this year. And what this has done for us is, if you can look at our PCI targets, and our PCI is the pavement condition index, kind of gives our scoring of our roadways. A brand new roadway would start out at 100, and then as it deteriorates, it kind of decreases in value. So our target for our arterials is 80. Our PCI average in 2014, before we got the additional funding, was 70.4. With the additional funding, it increased to 74.6. So the roads are improving. Collectors went from 70.1 to 74.3. Industrials went from 55 to 64.9. And residentials went from 66.6 to 72. The only roads that have decreased are our rural arterials, which were 67.2, and they went down to 54.9. But that'll improve this year with the additional projects that we're doing in these areas. This is a roadway here that was a picture that was done before we applied the high-density metal bond. That's one of the treatments that we're using this year. This is in Canyon Trails 3 before the treatment. And then this is how the roadway looks afterwards. Also, we did some microsurfacing on Bullard Avenue between Yuma and Lower Buckeye Road. This is the road before the surface treatment, and this is the roadway after. This is also done in conjunction with Parks and Right-of-Ways landscape improvements through their asset management plan, so it actually makes the road look very well. Another treatment that we're doing this year is reconstructions. Some of these are in the northern section of the city. This isn't in the city of Goodyear, but this is kind of an example. This is the first year that we're actually doing reconstructions in the city, but this is a roadway after it was been completed. This is the northern section of the city. As you can see that the roadways in yellow are the ones that we have picked for reconstruction. And we also have a central section map and a southern area map. Starting with the north area, like I said, the ones in yellow will be the reconstructed roads. The roadways that are in blue will get a high volume fast treatment. And we didn't have any pictures of this surface treatment at the time, but we will for our next presentation. And then the other ones, this is a base for multi-layer. We've done this in other areas such as subdivisions, where we put the fractured aggregate below, and then we put the slurry seal on top, and a lot of the subdivisions that we had. So it's similar, but it's more developed for high volume roads. The roads that are in tan will be utilizing slurry and microsurfacing as a top course. The roads that are in like a maroon color, those will be receiving the high-density mineral bond. This is the central section. As you can see, we're filling in a lot of microseal and high-density mineral bond in those areas. We're also doing portions of Litchfield Road. A lot of these will be done at night, so we don't impact traffic as much during the daytime, and plus it'll give us a better product, finished product at the end. And then this is the southern section. And these are some newer areas that we're applying high-density mineral bond in Estrella Mountain Ranch. And that's a very good product, and we've had really good luck with that one. And at this time, I'll entertain any questions or...
And thank you. Are there any speaker cards?
No, Mayor.
Would anybody in the audience with audiences left like to speak? All right, well, now let's go on. We're going to do this in two stages. So could I have a motion and a second to approve the budgeted expenditures not to exceed $3,974,000 to complete pavement management projects in various locations throughout the city? Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
I heard a motion
Second.
by Councilman Osborne and a second by, can I do this? You want to do the second?
That's fine.
All right, and a second by Councilman Pizzillo. Open for council discussion? Yes, Councilman Pizzillo.
Question on the rural roads that are at 50, if I recall right, 50-some%, and you're doing some work, some additional work this year. What do you expect it to be after that work's completed? How close to your target?
We'll still be slightly below our target. We have a lot of rural arterials that we have to get to, and hopefully we can start adding those into the mix as we kind of catch up with the funding. But it should raise it probably 4 to 5 points from where it is now.
Which would still put you 5-6 points below where you need to be, right?
Correct.
If my math is correct? Okay. Thank you.
Any other? Yeah.
Just to
Councilman
follow
Osborne?
up on that, can you give an example of what rural roads areas are that you're speaking of?
Rural arterials are roads that are undesigned, and the ones that we're doing this year are like Camelback Road from Cotton Lane to Citrus. We're also doing Cotton Lane. We're actually doing the western half. The eastern half was developed by Sub-Zero and the other developments there. The southern half, or the western half, is undeveloped. It's right next to it, and it's starting to fall apart, and it actually doesn't meet the profile. So once we get done, it'll all match, and it'll look the same. The other road we're doing is McDowell from Loop 303 to Citrus, and we're also going into the intersection and trying to elevate that intersection as well.
Okay, thank you.
Any other? Yes, Councilman
Is
Abden.
the ones that are purple that you're doing inside the neighborhoods, are those the ones that you have to tell everybody to get out the street, all the residents get a notice, and they can't go in there in that area, they got to walk to their house essentially?
Yes, sir. We actually close the road for a 12-hour period.
Yeah.
And we apply the surface treatment to the entire road. We also provide transportation. We have the foreman usually comes around with a golf cart if there's anybody that has groceries or carrying heavy bags, or we've even had some that were on crutches that we actually put in a golf cart and took them back and forth to their homes.
All right. Thank you.
Councilman Ortano?
I know some of the neighborhoods were done before, a couple years ago. Do we check them? Because I've noticed like up in Estrella, some of them are starting to crack again in the same cracks. Is that something we'll go check again?
Yes, ma'am.
As we
We
do
actually, Brian, who I work with right there, he goes out with the vendor, and the vendor is also curious about how the treatment's holding up, because we have a 5-year warranty on this product.
Good.
So they go out and check it periodically, make sure it's holding up. If there's anything that needs to be done, crack seal or anything like that usually occurs during the winter months when it's cooler and the cracks are wider, and then they'll reseal them if necessary.
Okay, because up in Estrella, I've noticed some cracks starting to come up again. I don't know if it's just our soil up there or what. So thank you.
Any other comments? Just one comment. It's really good to see this happening, because we did receive several emails this year on some of those roads. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm sure the rest of the council. So let's vote on it, council. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Let's go down to the second portion. Could I have a motion and a second to authorize a budget transfer using the Arizona Lottery Funds, ELF, fund balance of $111,600 and approve expenditures of these funds for concrete ramp improvements along the transit routes that are adjacent to the pavement management projects? Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I heard a motion from Vice Mayor Campbell, a second from Councilman Loretano. Open for council discussion.
Since we don't win the lottery, let's spend their money.
Oh, I love that one. Any other? We're noting your comment.
Thank you.
So, are you ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? The ayes have it. Thank you. Thank you very much, Ron, wherever you are. So 7.5, the next item on business is consider approving the purchase of a mobile and portable radios for the police department. Santiago Rodriguez, Deputy Chief of the Police, to present. Deputy Chief?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So I'm here tonight seeking your approval for the purchase and replacement of our mobile and portable radios for our police vehicles and our officers. There are several reasons for the replacement, and some of those are the lifespan of our current radios that we have now is over, and they are no longer in production out there. The state regulatory program will be undergoing a system-wide upgrade across the board, and our current radios will not be compatible with that system either once it's up and running. So point of contention is the replacement and funding for these radios is currently part of our asset management program that we have in place. So it is already funded for 2018. And because of those reasons, we're seeking your approval tonight. If you guys have any additional questions or anything that I might be able to answer, I'm here for you. So.
Thank you very much. Are there any speaker cards?
No, Mayor.
Would anybody in the audience like to speak? All right, then may I please have a motion and a second to approve the purchase of the replacement mobile and portable radios for police department vehicles and officers not to exceed the amount of $2,113,400, utilizing the existing cooperative purchasing contract from the state of Arizona, number ADSP 013-036880. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I heard a motion from Councilman Hampton, a second by Councilman Loretano. Open for council discussion. Councilman Loretano.
I just have a quick question. This is just kind of I know they're no longer good. You said they're not being made anymore. They're not going to be supported. So once we get the new ones, I know one of my cell phones no good. Sometimes there's places to recycle it. Is there a place that they go to recycle so they don't go in landfills or something?
They do get exchanged a 1-for-1, so
okay.
as we replace the radio, it does go back.
Okay, I was just curious what happens to all the old equipment. So thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Councilman Osborne.
So how many, I did not see this in here, maybe I just passed it, but how many portable radios, a mobile phone or mobile radios does $2 million
So how
get us? Because I didn't see that.
Yes, Councilwoman Osborne. So the way it breaks down is 144 vehicle radios will be replaced, and then 153 portable radios will be replaced.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Yes, Councilman, Vice Mayor Campbell.
Do we have any idea of when all of are you going to do a general replacement so many at a time, or is this a system-wide for all of our officers? And how long will it take to get them?
So it is system-wide, and the implementation we'd be done with in conjunction with our fleet services. Been talking to Charles and doing the replacement. We've done it once before when we went to these original radios back in 2008. So there will be a system in place to do that. The radio should be coming, let me see if I can get you an exact date. I'll call Chris Nadeau up since he's our telecommunicator. He would know more of the date.
I know we waited till it's absolutely mandatory to buy these radios because we've known this was coming for several years from RCI. So,
Mayor Lord, Vice Mayor Campbell, and the rest of council, the program will take about 60 days to get the radios in once approved. We anticipate a 30 to 45-day cycle to rotate all the vehicles and all the officers through to get their radios switched out. And there's also a retraining and a training for the officers as well.
okay, very good. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to better communications with new radios.
Councilman Basillo.
Just for the general public, this is all part of our budget process, and it's in the budget.
Yes.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Councilman Hampton.
Yeah, so talking about the budget too, so are we already planned for the next batch in the future as well?
Councilmember Hampton, yes, and 2026 is the date that we're planning ahead for now. Things might change, obviously, between now and then, but that is the date that we would look at.
Okay. And then my second question was just that maybe, just because I'm ignorant on it, but do we have 144 vehicles, police-only vehicles?
Yes, there's multiple radios that go into specialty vehicles, so even civilians have vehicles that there will be radios in. Ours, our command van, there's our SWAT vehicles, so there's additional vehicles out there, and that's where that number changes.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, let's vote on it. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. Thank you very much, Chief.
Thank you.
Okay, next item, 7.6, to consider adopting the Engineers Design Standards and Policies Manual. Not Steve, I see before me.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm very pleased to present to you, along with Steve, the updates to our 2017 engineering manual. And I'm going to wait till it comes up. All right, thank you, Lainey. This evening, we're going to go over some of the sort of basics about the manual itself, who uses it, what types of information is enclosed within it, and then some quick facts about how this process went along this year, as well as if we have time, we could read the entire book, which Steve has brought with him.
Let's just go for questions, okay? Thank you.
And then at the end, we certainly have had a lot of help with this, and so we're going to take a moment to thank everyone. So first, I'd like to start and just explain a little bit about what the engineering manual is and what it does for us. It essentially is a guideline and policy on how we design within the city of Goodyear. It doesn't cover everything, but it gives a basic design parameters to help our engineers that work with us either on capital projects or on developer projects. It lets them know what is expected within the city of Goodyear. Certainly it gives those guidelines, but it doesn't negate good engineering judgment as you go through your different projects. And as I mentioned, the various types of people that utilize this is our internal customers. So that would be parks, if they're trying to put together some information related to a master plan for a park. What are the city's expectations with respect to access, landscaping, water and sewer connections? So any of our internal customers, as well as the external engineers that we work with, again, whether it's a capital project or a developer-driven project, and then developers such as those that come forward for a rezoning like we saw this evening. They look at this guideline and it shares with them the types of information that we're going to expect when the plans come through. And then ultimately, why do we update this guideline? It is so that we can ensure we have the most up-to-date requirements for the city of Goodyear based on industry standards, as well as we go through various day-to-day operation and maintenance within, whether you're in water or sewer or roadway, the pavement management types of things, that we can update the standards based on the type of things that we see occur in the field so that we can minimize the types of things that we have to maintain if we can at all fix those types of things from the beginning, whether it's the type of pipe material, the type of pavement that we use. It just depends on a number of criteria, but we can look at all of those things, and that's what is enclosed in this document. And then our prior updates, the last one that we did was in 2012, so it's been 5 years. So this was quite a substantial undertaking this year. The one prior to that was also in 2007, so another 5 years. Ultimately, our goal would be to update this document every 1 to 2 years. because then it would become more manageable, the types of updates that we would have. When we wait for a period of time like this, 5 years, and Steve's going to go into the details a little bit, you'll see the amount of work that is necessary to make sure that we fully vet the types of information that we're considering to change. And one final thing before Steve comes up here, I did want to show that when we use this document, see if I can get that a little closer. Well, that's as good as it's going to get. But essentially, we will take the information that's included in the various chapters, and then we'll break it out into a checklist that we provide to not only our reviewers, but we also put that up on our website that you can. It's almost a cheat sheet for the design and then ultimately the review. We provide certain requirements that are located within the book, so they don't have to read the entire book, and then essentially they just go down the list and make sure that they've included the various requirements. And so not only do we update the entire manual, but we update all of our checklists, we put it on the website, and that way we attempt to ensure the very best plans come into the city. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Steve to give you the details.
Thank you. Steve?
Thank you, Rebecca, Mayor and council members. Just going to give you some quick facts about the update. We solicited internal and external customers for input. We received a total of over 500 revision requests. About 100 plus of those were internal since the last update, so we had kept a running tally over the last 5 years prior to the solicitation. We received about 240 new internal requests and about 165 new external requests. And I wanted to mention that we solicited input from roughly our top 40 customers by volume. That would be engineers and developers. Represents over 90%, I think, of our customer base. Moving along, just wanted to point out this was a significant collaborative effort. There were 41 coordination meetings total. The internal meetings included many of the departments in the city. Some examples up on the screen: streets, traffic, public works, parks and rec, development services, permit counter, and then ultimately met with several external customers as well. After the initial internal meetings, we created a draft, and it was sent to the external customers for comment. We did get some response back, and there was much discussion internally. We met again, vetted a lot of the comments and the questions with all the appropriate stakeholders. And it's important to note that any external comment and internal comment were vetted extensively through the departments and the divisions that were affected, and no decision was made without concurrence with the affected parties. Ultimately, there were 443 changes made this update. Those changes include some major revisions that could affect design, and then multiple minor updates to text and details, and many were to add clarification for some gray areas, I would say. And now I'll give you some examples of some of the major changes to the standards. The first of which would be the sewer manhole lining requirement. This request was brought to us by a customer to, look at the level of detail when we require manhole linings. We collaborated extensively with Public Works on the request. We researched existing city infrastructure in the field to determine the long-term wear and tear. We compared our standards to other like agencies around the valley. We ended up revising the requirements to meet the intent of the city's concerns while bringing the requirements more in line with industry standards. And also, essentially we no longer require coating on all of the manholes, but under certain conditions, the appropriate manholes, and overall, we didn't compromise on the quality of the city's infrastructure. The second example I have for you tonight is this retaining wall detail. This was an internal request. Basically, it was a request to create a detail so that we can eliminate a defect or a gray area between the engineering and building safety staff, the plan reviewers, and also the inspection staff. So with this detail, essentially will provide better direction to the customers when they're doing design and subdivisions, and also to the staff when checking and inspecting in the field. The third and final example I have for you tonight is the standard for storm drain for collector streets. We reduced the minimum size from 18 inches to 24 inches. This was requested by external customer. We validated the request through Streets, who perform the maintenance on storm drain. And we ended up making a change that resulted in a more appropriate use of resources for the external customers with a positive impact for their projects and virtually no impact on the maintenance staff. Moving on to next steps, future updates. First off, we're setting the goal, as Rebecca mentioned, of performing annual to biannual updates to better serve our customers, internal and external. As a result of our process improvements out in the development continuum, our intent is to accomplish this annual update or biannual update primarily using internal staff. And then the third goal is to take what we've learned this time around and set up more standard work so that we can have an overall process template, improve requests for modification forms, coordination meetings, common resolution meetings, and then finally the ultimate document rollout. And lastly, I want to go through some acknowledgments. Just want to mention again, this was a huge endeavor, especially because it had been 5 years since the last update. We're definitely thankful for the help and collaboration from our internal customers, most of which I mentioned earlier, and our external customers. I want to say thank you to the City Attorney's Office for working with us through the end of it and QA/QCing and helping it to be a better product. Special thanks to external customer Newland Communities for their extensive input in helping us create a better overall product also. And then a very special thanks and shout out to Wendy Ledesma from Michael Baker International. She was a consultant that played a large role in managing the update and did a lot of the work in the trenches, and she was going to be here tonight, but duty called elsewhere. But I did want to mention that and thank her. And that concludes our presentation. So now we're able to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there any speaker cards?
No, Mayor.
Would anybody like to speak? All right, then let's go. Will the city clerk please read resolution number 17-1817 by title only, please?
Adopt resolution number 17-1817, declaring as a public record that certain document filed with the city clerk entitled City of Goodyear Engineering Design Standards and Policies Manual 2017 edition.
Thank you. Could I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
I heard a motion by Councilman Loretano, a second by Councilman Hampton. Open for council discussion. Vice Mayor?
Thank you very much. This is really very interesting, and I'm glad you want to do it yearly rather than every 5 years. I never could understand when staff would come before council and they would talk about, I'm going to use an example, the building codes from 2009 and it's 2012 or 13 or 14, and we're wondering how come we're so far behind. Did you find that some of the updates that you did brought us more in line with what other cities were doing that would level the playing field so that when developers are looking at different cities, we're more in line what everyone else is doing rather than doing things a little different?
Thank you, Mayor and Vice Mayor. Absolutely, and I would say that we strive to do that at every update, and I would imagine we did that in 07 and 12 as well. But I think the good example that I can, again, come up with that Steve mentioned was the sewer lining. And that one, again, it took us, we wanted to absolutely make sure that we weren't making a decision that was going to negatively impact us. So we, again, went out in the field and popped manhole lids and made sure we looked at everything and looked at the impacts. And so, again, instead of just requiring all manholes to have it, now we say, well, those that are greater than 5 feet, those that have a depth of 10 feet, those that have a certain velocity, things that would actually impact the lining material. So what I would say is we're always striving to do that. But again, if there's anything unique about Goodyear, we want to make sure that we don't negatively impact the downstream user. So those that are going to take over that, whether, again, it's a roadway, but we will always look at what other municipalities do and then really investigate why they do that.
Do you think by increasing the size of the sewer pipes from 18 to 24, is that going to help stop some of the flooding that we have in street corners particularly?
And let me clarify on that question. We actually reduced it from 24 to 18.
Oh, then I missed.
So I know,
I'm sorry.
I think we said it backwards, but essentially, if the amount of flow going through the pipe requires a 24-inch, they must install a 24-inch. But this was a minimum standard, so even if the flow was an 8-inch, we still required a 24. So now we just reduced it to 18, and we can still maintain that line.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions? Councilman Hampton?
I had a couple. So this is more of a clarification for the standards over and above the normal standards, the basic standards essentially for engineering standards in industry, essentially. If that makes sense. They're over and above the bare minimum industry standards. These are clarification to the city of Goodyear, what we want Goodyear to be, essentially.
Yeah, so ultimately you have the Maricopa Association of Government standards that dictate a lot of the requirements. These are our standards that are specific to infrastructure that's within the city of Goodyear that is not covered by Maricopa Association of Governments. And again, these are our, yes, minimum requirements for the design. Once you get into putting all of that information together in an overall subdivision, some of the things might apply, some might not. You might have to put together and say, okay, this is the bigger constraint, so I can't achieve this. So again, that's where I come back to good engineering judgment, is that you have to put all of our requirements together and come up with the very best solution.
Okay. And then the other question was, was anything streamlined at all? Did we find anything that we got rid of or threw out, or things that maybe streamlined the process a little better? Or do you find any value or out of reducing anything, I guess?
I guess I would say that we're going to come back to you in a year or two instead of 5 years.
I'm just curious, along the process of going through everything, if you were able to see some things that didn't need to be done anymore that maybe streamlined out, but just an example.
It's a good question, really, but I'm sorry, not that I can think of, but again, these are design parameters. So your roadway must slope at this this vertical slope, this longitudinal slope. So there are just criteria that you have to put together and then design everything to.
Okay. And then for future ones, do you have a process that internal people can bring new ideas up and things like that for the next 2 years? So you have a queue of 20 different things that people are seeing as using the new process that they can then bring them up in 2 years from now to say, okay, these are the 20 changes I saw that I want to make better or whatever.
And thank you, Councilmember Hampton. And Steve mentioned that since our one from 5 years ago, we'd already accumulated some just under 200. And in this case, again, we're going to have, it's an actual form they have to fill out that basically says, here's the existing requirement, here's what we want to change it to, and then that must be vetted through the director of whichever department is, and then come to us, and we will essentially catalog all of those. I'm not sure if we already have a SharePoint site, but it's something that we would certainly look into so people could essentially just load it up and we can just continually be collecting that information.
And this is only for new growth, right? New product, new things that we do, or is it changing standards or on the past projects too?
It's essentially for new construction work.
Okay, so if there was something, so we change the standard and then the new development, something breaks or something happens, we got to replace something, could we go make a smaller drain line on an older project? I don't know if that would ever come up, but just an example.
I'm not sure.
Oh, just curious. Yeah, I'm sure it's case to case. I was just curious also, I mean, like for maintenance type people, if there's any like a reduction in PMs or routine maintenance type products that you could also maybe save some time maintenance going out and, or extend the maintenance period longer, that you might be able to change some processes. That's all. I'm just curious.
Sure, thank you.
That's all I had.
Councilman Osborne?
I have nothing, no, I'm good.
Thank you for all the time you put into this, and I appreciate going forward that it's every 1 to 2 years. I think that's very good. You know, I was surprised when I saw the pipe shrink from the 18 to 4, and I know that this is one example of 400 different things, so you know that it's across the board different types of changes. I am curious, as you look at all of this, I wonder how much you take into consideration, and everything is going to be different, but longevity, you know, for our future, that infrastructure, is there a guide that you try to say, you know, we want something that's going to last 20 years, or is really going to be case by case type of thing, because some product may last 50 years and other products may not. But I've just always wondered, by a general rule of thumb, how you view that, and then how you have to view when, especially when it was the stormwater, how you take into those considerations of the 100-year flood, or the, you know, is everything based on the future impact, I guess, is my question.
Thank you, Mayor and Councilmember Osborne. Absolutely, we try to do that. I mean, essentially, you're trying to look into the future as to when this roadway is here in 10 years and 20 years, and how is this going to function or act. And again, though, there are going to be things that we think a certain pipe, I'm trying to think of, vitrified clay pipe used to be used a lot. It's no longer used anymore, but there was a time when that was the top of the line industry standard. So again, our attempt in trying to do this more often is, as soon as we hear about something that is no longer the right material to use, the right section of roadway to use, anything like that. I mean, this goes back to landscaping standards and the types of trees that we use. It can go to trees that have a root system that grows into our sidewalks, that hangs over into our street. I mean, so this encompasses everything we learn day to day, and we try to look forward as best we can.
On this side. Well, Steve, good, nice presentation. I know you haven't been up here that many times, but you did well. And Rebecca, I'm always stunned at how well the engineering department has done, how advanced we've gotten. And you have to say, Joanne, you've been sitting at this dais for a long time, and you heard this presentation. It just is impressive, so thank you very much. Okay, are we ready to vote? Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Hampton?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Campbell?
Aye.
Councilmember Osborne?
Aye.
Councilmember Pizzillo?
Aye.
Councilmember Loretano?
Aye.
Mayor Lord?
Aye.
The motion carries.
So we'll go to the second portion. Will the city clerk please read ordinance 17-1359 by title only, please?
Adopt ordinance number 17-1359, adopting City of Goodyear Engineering Design Standards and Policies Manual 2017 edition, repealing ordinance number 12-1276 that adopted City of Goodyear Engineering Design Standards and Policies Manual 2012 edition, providing for corrections, non-abridgment, severability, penalties, and an effective date.
Thank you. Could I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All right, I had a motion by Councilman Osborne, a second by Councilman Hampton. Open for council discussion? All right, roll call vote, please.
Vice Mayor Campbell?
Oh, yes, hi.
Councilmember Osborne?
Aye.
Councilmember Pizzillo?
Aye.
Councilmember Loretano?
Aye.
Councilmember Hampton?
Aye.
Mayor Lord?
Aye.
The motion carries.
All right, thank you. Let's go to information items. Does the council have any comments, accommodations, or report on current events?
I do.
Yes, Vice Mayor?
I would like to let you know that on Saturday I attend the memorial service for Vice Mayor Sandy Nielsen in Avondale. And it was a beautiful ceremony, and we were told a wonderful story about a wonderful lady who made quite an impression on the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts on her LDS stake, as well as on the Avondale City Council. And I expressed the deepest sympathy of our council, our mayor, and the residents of Goodyear on her passing.
Thank you very much. I did also get in contact via the phone to the mayor. She's a very brave woman, and the way she handled her illness and was able to work on the dais so long with so many problems, she'll be a role model for years to come of how one is faced with these really disastrous diseases. So thank you. Any other? Yes, Councilman Osborne.
Thank you. Actually, I'll speak on what you and I did this weekend. Actually, the mayor and I had our annual hospital retreat, and we had an outstanding presentation by Dr. Dersteller on mental health issues and the opioid epidemic across our nation, and it was very enlightening and quite sad, but you know, it's one of those topics that you don't always want to have to hear about, but it's something that's out there, and I appreciate the fact that we were able to hear about that.
Thank you, Joanne. Any other comments? Why don't you do that then? No, I'm going to give it to somebody else to talk about.
All right, well, I was going to just say that all of us attended the League of Arizona Cities in Oro Valley, and we attended some absolutely wonderful workshops, and were able to meet most of our peers and listen to all of their concerns and what they've done to do it, or how they've been able to remedy their problems, and ask us how we do things, and it was just a really great week.
Yes, I'll just add to that. They had one of the highest attendance record at the league, and it was well done. So thank you. All right, is there any, let's see, does the city manager have anything to report?
Mayor, members of the council, just a couple of items. One is just a reminder, Goodyear Fire Police will be having their 9/11 memorial service, and that will be on September 9th from 7:30 to 10:30. So just to put that in perspective, it's been many years since they've been hosting this, so it's our 16th anniversary of doing this, and we appreciate that very much. So get there early, get your pancakes, but it will really be about honoring those that lost their lives for the memorial service, and then the importance of our public safety. So just the flag raising ceremony will start at 7:30 a.m. and the funds raised from the donations there do go to the United Goodyear Firefighters Charities. The second item is next Monday, we will be closed in observance of Labor Day. So we will have emergency fire and police services, but all other items or all other operations will be closed. That includes trash recycling that'll be moved to the next day. We have that on our site as well. Mayor, I did not have any follow-up items at this point.
Thank you very much. Does council have any inquiries to staff? Go ahead. That's it. This is your time
I've
to do
got two
that.
inquiries for the manager. I would like to know, our council probably is interested in getting a status of the body cameras, where they are.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the
status of the
body cameras, and also perhaps you can.
I'm sorry. Yes, we can give an update on where we're at with it.
Thank you. And then how did the resident receive notice of the hearing and he wasn't in the notification area? If you can enlighten us on that.
Yes.
Anybody else? All right, then, does anybody have anything for your future agenda items that you'd like to place on? All right, then with that, the next meeting will be a work session and a regular meeting on September 11th. With that, I'm going to adjourn this meeting. Meeting adjourned.